Sunday morning. Some storms that'll bring in somewhat cooler air, upper 80s here for Sunday, Monday, back into the low to mid 90s here on Tuesday. That's your forecast.
The Lincoln Highway begins in Times Square in New York City. That's where, at the height of the pandemic, author Frank Berry and his wife Laurel set out on a trip through the Berry towns of America. Amidst a very tumultuous time in our history, could they find what binds us all together along the road named for one of our best leaders?
Frank served as chief speechwriter on the Bloomberg 2020 campaign trail and is now a Bloomberg opinion editor. His book is Back Roads and Better Angels, a journey into the heart of American democracy. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So it's interesting that you took this road trip during the height of the pandemic and leading up to that 2020 election between Biden and Trump. And now we're back at the same thing 4 years later. So, gosh, it seems like the country's more divisive than ever. But how was it in 2020?
Yes, deja vu all over again. We left on September 11th, which was a day that had united the nation like never before. And our hope was to reach the end of the Lincoln Highway in San Francisco on Election Day, which should be a day that unites the country, but of course is tearing us apart like never before. And what was true in 2020 is even more true today.
Yeah, I mean, Lincoln really had to thread that needle between emancipation and dealing with an audience that was a 19th century, essentially racist audience. Maybe you could talk about how he was able to do that and why we cannot seem to do that in our country today.
Sure. Well, one of the things Lincoln said that I think really has relevance to today is that most legislation is not all good or all evil, and the trick is to find which side has the preponderance of the two. And so it was a way of recognizing that our opponents are not evil. As Lincoln said of Southerners in the 1850s, they are just what we would be in their situation. And I think that type of understanding can go a long way to recognizing that everybody brings their own personal experiences to politics, and we don't always have as much of a complete and accurate picture as we think we may.
So did you just stop people on the road and say, hey, I'm writing a book? I mean, a lot of people don't like to talk. I mean, so how did you meet people?
A little bit of both. We would chat with people spontaneously, randomly, people we met along the way. And some of the interviews I set up in advance. It was a little bit of a weird time to be traveling, to say the least, because of the pandemic. So we couldn't just run into people as regularly as you might because of lockdowns and the fact that everyone's schedule was different. But people everywhere we went were really open, I have to say, and really welcoming. And maybe because of the pandemic, even more willing to spend some time. People were really generous with their time and sharing their stories.
But it seems like the middle is shrinking. So did you happen to find some of these rare people who are in the middle, or were you finding partisan people that seemed reasonable?
Well, the middle seems to be shrinking, but often the more you speak with people, the more of the middle you see. And I'll give you just one quick example. I was down on the border of Mexico in southeastern Arizona, and I did an interview with a sheriff there. I did a ride-along of the border with the sheriff's office and saw the border wall being built. And the sheriff said to me, you know, we know that the wall is not going to solve everything. We need a balanced plan. We need more staffing. We need more we need more cameras. We need more technology. But we also need, he said, more immigrants. We need a balanced, progressive plan. And he blamed both Democrats and Republicans for not delivering on that. And I think that if you ask most Americans whether they agree with the sheriff, I bet 90% of them would say yes.
What did you do when you were in Chicago? I know you were in our WGN parking lot here for a time overnight, but what kind of stuff did you hit in Chicago?
Yeah, I should thank you for your hospitality.
Yeah, it was all us.
Harry Barthel kindly put us up for the night. We were traveling in an RV in a Winnebago, and so we stayed at a lot of strange places along the way, including your parking lot at WGN, and we walked through Roscoe Village into Lincoln Park and down to, of course, see the statue of Lincoln in Lincoln Park, and walked through as well some of the neighborhoods and explored a little bit of the housing history in Chicago, which of course is so rich and which other cities share. The experience with slum clearance And the knocking down of housing is of course, a very important part of Chicago's story, and it's an important part of Pittsburgh's story and New York's stories and other cities' stories along the way. And it's an example of how government arrogance, really, if left unchecked, can do a lot of damage, and that challenges to democracy can emerge from both the left and the right.
And did you visit the Billy Goat Tavern? Is that part of this
We
story?
didn't make it to the Billy Goat Tavern, but I did learn something really important in Chicago, which is, and I'm sure you know this, but the Billy Goat Tavern was originally named the Lincoln Tavern.
Ah.
So maybe, just maybe, the curse of the Billy Goat was really about changing the name of the Lincoln Tavern. That could have spared Chicagoans a lot of grief.
Yeah.
You still married after an RV road trip on the Lincoln Highway?
Amazingly enough, which is a testament to my wife, we had no idea what we were getting in for. We had neither of us had gone RVing before, but yes, we both found we loved it, and it was an amazing experience. Now we both, I should say, live in a one-bedroom apartment in New York City, so RV life wasn't drastically different. Still, yeah, we loved it.
Oh, that's great. Well, the book is Back Roads and Better Angels: A Journey into the Heart of American Democracy. Thanks, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you.